Burt is with us, Burt Harding from Vancouver, Canada, BC. And yeah, I won't waste much time. I'll just
Okay.
ask Burt to start telling us about your true nature is love.
Right.
Here
Yes.
we go, Burt.
Yes. Your true nature is love. You know, when you start realizing that your true nature is love, and I've seen this happen to many peoples that I write every day because I receive emails from around the world. And whenever they begin to recognize that their true nature is love, at that point, the questions and the problems start getting less and less. What I'd like to do now, in this
Mm-hmm.
short period, is to make it experiential so that at
Okay.
least people who are listening may get a glimpse of what it means to realize your true nature as love. One time I was giving a satsang, and all of a sudden, at the spur of the moment, I said to a man who wasn't understanding what I'm talking about, I said to him, "How do you know you exist?" I said to him. And he said, "Well, of course I do." When I said, "Okay, you take it for granted that you know you exist." I said, "But how do you know?" And then he said, "Because I am aware I exist." I said, "Ah, there it is." Okay? Because pure awareness is our nature. But what happens is that there are 7 billion humans on this earth and they're all aware. But they really think that awareness implies their ego. But you see, awareness is one. It is not many. And so this one awareness is shared among the 7 billion people. Now, the key question here is what makes this awareness love itself? You see, because there are two principles to understand awareness. One, it is self-recognizing. And number two, awareness is also self-organizing. So it comprises the whole movement of life. So let's talk about recognizes awareness as love.
Mm-hmm.
Picture a woman just gave birth, and she's been through an excruciating time experiencing giving birth. Her body is suffering, going through the movement. Then, of course, the nurse brings over the child and gives it to her. And as soon as the mother holds the child in her arms, and she sees the child for the first time, there's a radiance. There's a feeling of love. All the pain that she experienced and all the trouble that she's had before and all the suffering is temporarily gone. Because in that moment of pure awareness, of pure being, she's experiencing total and absolute focus, which is pure love, pure awareness. Uh, what is so beautiful about awareness when we understanding is that it is not only self-recognizing, because everybody recognizes they are aware, but they do not understand. They think, oh, my ego is being aware, my persona is being aware, not realizing that awareness itself is life itself, the holistic. It's holographic. It's oneness that is experiencing through every form. But it's also self-organizing, which means this. Let's take the example of the woman that just gave birth. What is wonderful about awareness is self-organizing is that if we look at that woman who gave birth at the time when she received the sperm, went into her womb, it became a fetus. Already become a fetus, the self-organizing principle of awareness. That fetus then begins to form arms and legs and eyes and ears and heart, liver, kidneys. Who's doing it? Who is in charge? Like you see, this is the principle of how love works through self-organizing principle. It creates a new brain and everything. So so when we begin to combine the two, self-recognizing and self-organizing principle, we'll find that they cover every aspect of life. Like the body itself, for example, is made up of 100 trillion cells. It's just like if you were to put 1 and 0, 0, 0, 0 across the page, you'll end up going over the page because there's so many zeros. Okay? Now, with all those cells, every cell is intelligent. Every cell knows what to do. Because again, it is the pure awareness principle of organization. And so if you can take it all the way through. Also, let's discuss time. Okay? Now, when we talk about time, does time really exist? See, and then we see that it's also part of the organizing principle of awareness, which is Earth rotating around the sun. So as the Earth rotates around the sun, it faces the sun and we call it day. And then it doesn't face the sun and we call it night. And then day after day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, seasons change. There's the semblance of time going by and change going by. Even the cellular body begins to change because all objective material changes. We really think time is going by. But in reality, we miss the fact that our true nature is eternal, beginningless, endless. You see? So now the question might arise here at this point, well, if love is our true nature, if everybody is really love, whether they have a relationship or not is immaterial here, love is the very nature of being, why is it that most people hardly ever experience true love? Why is it that most people suffer and they experience loneliness, deprivation? You see, another aspect which is forgotten too is that we are awareness, we take it for granted, but again, I repeat, we think that this awareness is my own perspective as a separate person, which is not, because it is one, it is holistic. So, but what happens is that we want love more than anything, because it is our nature, but we don't know it, we haven't realized it, we don't know it. So we start seeking three things in life. And these three things bring all the suffering known to humanity. We begin to seek approval because we want love. We begin to seek safety, which is the security. And we begin to seek also control. So now let's take them as far, because they're all different aspects of love. So when we seek approval, we want to be approved of because we want to feel loved. But what happens when we seek approval is that the seeking of approval itself means that you want to be loved, but you're not ready to love until you know it's going to be reciprocated. Do you understand? So yes, I want to love, but I want to make sure that you're going to love me. You see, so we wait for somebody to love us before we give our heart. Why? Because we take the second one. We want to be secure. We want to feel safe. We've been hurt enough. We've been abused enough. You know, the first 6, 7 years of life are filled with feelings of abandonment or not feeling loved enough or whatever. So, so therefore, the moment we seek security, even for a second, that very need for security, which can only take maybe a thought, a moment like that, is insecurity itself. The moment you seek security is insecurity itself. And then when we don't get those two, approval and security, we go into control. So people who do not feel loved, do not feel that they are lovable, do not feel that they do not feel complete. So which other way are they going to feel love? Because you cannot do without love. Love is the very nature of being. So what happens is that when you not begin to feel love, you try to feel control. You try to go into being in control. For example, take a couple who love each other, let's say, you know, and they have a very passionate love affair, but they argue very often. They fight very often. So what happens in this fighting? They both want to be right, which is the need for control. The need for control is the need for love, because the reason you want control, you want to get your own way, you want to be right at all costs, is because you want to feel okay. You see? So therefore, the more you want to feel okay, the less okay you feel. So this is the paradox that keeps happening all the time. And what I find, which is so wonderful, realizing your true nature, which is the pure awareness that you are, just being, that's the being that you are itself is love. The moment you realize that, you no longer seek love. The moment you no longer seek love, you see, things are not as serious as you thought they were. They begin to cease, sort of, um, you're not seeking for control because you know you are love. You're not seeking security anymore. You're not seeking approval because you are the very thing that you want. Okay, at that point, questions and problems begin to fall away, and we begin to see clearer. So at this point, we reach a sense of fulfillment, a sense of, yeah, it's good to be. I am. You see, another thing which is frightening, and I have found people find it hard to understand, is that in truth, your nature being love, there is also the fear that who I think I am is me comprised of the past, everything that I've experienced. And in psychology, and I studied psychology, there is the idea that we are the product of the past. Well, in a way, yes, it goes into our subconscious and dictates many of our actions, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And after all, emotions are the product of what we believe to be real. They act in the body. But but let me see, am I losing the point here? So what did I say last?
Oh dear, I lost it too, I think.
Okay, we'll catch on, doesn't matter.
You were talking about, I think you were coming to self-love, weren't you?
That's right. Because when there is the recognition that you are love and you begin to love yourself, those needs that you were seeking for in the beginning are no longer relevant, are no longer important. But also what I was mentioning too is that before we come to that understanding, there is the idea that we are the past conditioning. Now, that doesn't mean that we are not, but the real nature is not an emotion. You see, it is not the past. It is this very essence which is eternal, which is unchanging in the moment itself. Now, so the fear is that if I am not my ego and my ego dies, then I die with it, because everything that I feel, everything that I think, and everything that I emote, and everything that I experience happens to be my ego. No, it isn't. It is all being expressing through you. So this is the great fear. You see, the fear that I am not as personal as I thought I was. I am more of a holistic, being, a total being. Okay. Now, I've covered the true nature as being awareness itself. Let me see, now go back to what I was just saying. I said so many things. I've described that pure awareness is love itself, and also what makes us lose this love or not experience it at all, because we keep on thinking I am not lovable because of the first 6-7 years of my life. What I've experienced wasn't complete, the satisfaction of my needs as a child. Okay, so now if I've covered that too, are there any questions at this point?
Let me see. Maybe you could comment on the link between, you started off by saying our true nature is awareness, and then you also said, well, of course, our true nature is love. What's the link between those two?
You see, this is very good. And also we have to go into consciousness. Awareness is the totality of you. But I'm talking about pure awareness, and pure awareness is not owned by an individual. Pure awareness is the very nature that makes life appear as a human form. You are being playing the human role. You see. So, so when we go back to pure awareness, we'll find that that pure awareness itself is love. In the same way that when that woman gave birth, despite her suffering, despite the difficulty that she went through, the moment she saw the child in her arms, she was pure awareness, which another way of saying it, pure love, which is another way of saying is 100% attention on the child. In other words, she was so in love with the child that even the discomfort in her body was not relevant at that point. She even had forgotten that. So this is what pure awareness is. It is love, because when you are in pure awareness, you're not concentrating on what the beliefs you're focusing on. You're not concentrating on the past. You are pure awareness. Like in that state, you get a moment, and you're just, it's a loving moment. It's an aha moment. Okay, so what I call love is the fulfillment of life itself, of being. Now when I talk about awareness, the people are always thinking that I'm talking about something you're aware of. You see?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the very nature of awareness as pure. The moment you become aware of something, it becomes consciousness, what you are conscious of.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So consciousness is eternal, yes. Consciousness is made, the body itself is consciousness in appearance. And the world that we experience has come from our own consciousness, because it's all imagination. The world is not as real as we think it is. So everything is this nothingness, or the emptiness of pure energy, which is love, appearing as the external, appearing as many others, but it's actually one essence. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what becomes a little difficult to understand, and I wanted to stop and see if there's any questions at this point coming through. I don't know from where or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or
Well, I
maybe.
do have a question for you, Bert.
Okay.
In your biography, and also in the interview with Rick Archer on Buddha at the Gas Pump,
Okay, Rick Archer, yeah.
you say that you had this awakening experience, but somehow it was mostly in your mind. It was a knowing,
It
and
was a
then
knowing. It wasn't mind, it was knowing.
yes, it was
And
knowing,
yeah,
and then you had a relationship that was very conflictual,
right. This is
and
what led
or
me
there
to the
was a
point.
yes.
Yeah.
So what changed at that moment? What changed when, in that moment of conflict,
Yeah. Well, okay.
something
The
seemed to have
when
opened
okay.
up, or
Right. Yeah.
something seemed to have changed. What is it that
Yes.
changed there?
Okay. What changed was this. You see, prior to that, I had written a book called Be Aware, Be Free. And I was doing very well in Toronto. I even had a very short series of TV, based on experiences that I've had. Mind Body Connection, it was called. So, um, but what happened that in the year 2000, this woman who was living in Oregon at the time, and she came and dropped by, and then we lived together. She left everything behind to be with me. And then there was a point where she was feeling totally unsatisfied with the relationship we were having, because she was missing her two teenage boys, the things that she left behind, etc., etc. So it became a very difficult situation. Now the situation became so conflicted, because I felt I am in a catch 22, damned if I don't and damned if I do. There was nowhere to go. And it was this crucial point that when people reach, that can actually be the breakthrough rather than the breakdown. You see, because we either break down or we break through. And what makes the difference is called surrender.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I realized that, my goodness, I studied psychology, I studied metaphysics, I even wrote a book. People look upon me as a teacher, and here I know nothing. The conflicted relationship, and she was very hysterical and emotional, and very irrational behavior. So at that point, I didn't know how to deal with it, and I had no answers. So I went into the bathroom, and I actually cried, and I said, I surrender. I don't know anything anymore. I give up. And that moment I gave up, it's just like Burt disappeared, you see, and there was a moment of knowing that I am not Burt. I am playing the human role of Burt. So the answers that I want of life, as long as I think I have answers, then we never wake up. But the moment you realize that life is really a mystery, this incredible love, this entity, this source, this God, which is so absolutely mind-boggling, when we come to the point where the only thing we can do is to turn to it and surrender to it completely. Well, the moment we surrender completely to it, then instead of a breakdown comes a breakthrough. And what I received was, there is no answer, there is nowhere to go, there's nothing to get. You see, there's nothing to achieve, nothing to accomplish, you know. But that surrender is itself, because the moment you surrender, you enter the realm of the self-organizing principle of awareness, which is the source, which is life itself, which is the intelligence, infinite intelligence of being. You see? But as long as we can use our mind and think we have control over life, we remain caught. And the reason, the control factor, so the reason most people are caught in their life and they never change is because they say they want to change for the better, they want to improve, but they want to do it on their own terms, remaining the same ego that they were before, and it just doesn't work that way. You've got to be able to give yourself up to the higher intelligence, and then the moment you do, it takes over. But not because we've achieved anything, we didn't go anywhere, we didn't accomplish anything, we simply woke up to what has always been there. You see, and that is the whole point. So, and that moment brought quite a shift, you know, and that shift was that Burt doesn't know anything, and that's a fact. And but there is that knowing that I can trust, and that is not the mind, that is the heart. You see, and as long as I trust the heart, then the heart will guide me. But the heart cannot guide you as long as you want to figure it out, as long as you want to think about it, as long as you want an answer. You see, in reality, there are no answers, there is only love. And love is the answer to everything, because love is all encompassing. It's not, it isn't up here like this or like this. You see? And its grandeur and its totality, it's all encompassing. Like I said, you know, it is what makes the earth go around the sun. It is what creates a fetus into a living human being. It is, you know, so this is all love, the very being itself. You know, now you can call it being, you can call it source, you can call it God, you can call it light. It doesn't matter. These are just labels. But once you come to trust that, I call it life too. I trust life. The moment you do that, then things will begin to happen all by themselves. And then you look back and you say, my goodness, all my life I struggled so much. And now things are falling into place. You know, I think it was Carl Jung who called it synchronicity. See, there's a synchronicity the moment you surrender. The moment, because people live from a horizontal plane. There's the past and there's the future. And they miss the middle, which is vertical, which is the now itself. You see? Now, when you begin to live horizontally, you're caught in time. So you try to think about how I'm going to solve this problem, which came from the past, according to what you believe you are, how you think you are, and then you try to reach an answer, hopefully to go into the future, but prolonging the past, and you miss the moment, which is the greatest wisdom there is, the moment which is timeless and being, total being, you see. So when we reach that state of surrender, and that's what happened in my case, that very surrender itself makes Burt disappear, makes you, who you think you are, disappear at the moment, and then you went, my God, wow, it's a whole new way of seeing. Now, if people say when a person awakens, they change completely. I don't agree with that. Nothing really changes except you see things that you never saw before. So, you don't drastically change except you become more like a child, actually. You become more innocent, more trusting, more open, because you know that the mystery of life, which is a mystery really, how little we understand about how the cell, is so magnificent. It knows what to do in the body, and the body appears so real, and life can appear so objective. But the objective is really subjective. It is really nothingness appearing as something, So
it's interesting that you bring in the self-organizing principle. You used to be a physiotherapist, right? So you know about bodies.
That's right. I was always interested in the body, yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way of capturing this fact that life just keeps going on, and it does so quite beautifully and naturally. Like you say, it's self-organizing.
It's self-organizing.
And when the mind takes over, we think that we have to organize it.
That's right.
We have to direct it in a certain way, in a certain direction. We have to make sure it goes there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we make so many mistakes. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The beautiful thing is about self-organizing too, is that it is all directed by love. So that means only the best will happen to you when you surrender. There's 5 words that I've heard, a few years ago, and it stayed with me. Let go and let God. And I guess that says it all once you begin to understand it, because there's only oneness, one being. And so when you start to see that I am that one being too, and so therefore there is a knowing in me when I trust it completely, when I'm one with it. In other words, I'm aligned vertically with it, you see? So when I'm aligned with it, then even if I don't know what to do, somehow or other I find myself doing it. And this happens to me so often. Sometimes I say, oh my goodness, tomorrow I'm going to give satsang. What am I going to be talking about? And then I remember right away. I don't have to remember. So I go to bed and I call it Holy Spirit. This the self-actualizing principle, the infinite intelligence, I call it Holy Spirit. That's my thing. And I said, Holy Spirit, you'll give it to me. When I get up in the morning, if it happens to be that Thursday to give satsang, I know exactly what is the theme, what I'm supposed to cover. See? And it comes. And sometimes also the theme comes through the letters I receive, which I receive quite regularly from around the world. And that's it. But I don't do anything, really, And the more I don't do anything, I'm
the more
laughing
you
because
do.
I was thinking about the computer. You see, I didn't. I said, okay, I'll trust Grace completely until she calls me. But yeah, sorry about that. There was a misunderstanding there.
I did call you in the end.
Yes, yes, yes.
There was a misunderstanding. I expected Bert to come on to the hangout. I thought that was our understanding, and Bert
Oh,
thought that I was going to call him by phone and we'd go on to the hangout together.
uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
that was the misunderstanding.
Yeah,
But it got all solved, and
that's right.
you may even see my image by now.
And I'm not seeing your image, and
Not
no, I'm
yet.
still see
Okay.
Grace. Yeah, but I mean, I'm
Yes.
talking to you. I can see you. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, on the screen.
So Bert doesn't see me. He just sees Grace.
Hey, that's good. That's good. I see the grace of grace. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe Bert, maybe you don't see me because seeing me would distract you from Grace. And you're
No.
really here to talk about Grace, right?
Yeah, it is grace really. You see, that's the beautiful thing, because when you trust life, grace will come into your life,
Yes.
you see. And yeah, yeah. Though I never heard those two principles discussed, that awareness is self-recognizing and self-organizing. And
Hmm.
that is something that just came very natural of understanding. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that I understand pure awareness. It's a mystery
Hmm.
that no mind can even begin to
Hmm.
touch it. But you can see its beauty, its wonder, its infallibility.
Hmm.
Its
Hmm.
completeness.
Mm.
And you can trust it. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, to get up in the morning and say, I trust you. And of course, you're
Mm.
meaning you, the whole that you are. I trust the I
Yes.
am that I
Yes.
am, and no matter what happens, it happens because what I need. See, because many people say, Bert, I'm doing the trusting bit, but I keep getting many problems. You see? And then I say, well, the problem that you're getting is things that you haven't worked out or looked at, because a
Mm.
problem is never really a problem. It is something that you need to look at. It's a type of love that right now you haven't looked at to see it. See, the moment something happens in our life, we go to pieces. We go to a
Hmm.
psychiatrist. We go to somebody that's going to help us remove the thing. But the thing is, if it's happening to us, we need to look at this
Hmm.
obstacle itself, because we have created it somehow or other. Not, of course, on purpose, through misunderstanding, through lack of clarity. And
Mm.
when we begin to understand it, that very understanding, which also becomes combined with forgiveness, because we forgive the fact that we have made the mistake, and it's okay, and I can keep loving myself despite what happens. Everything is fine. The
Hmm.
moment we achieve that modicum of self-compassion, then the troubling moments, the big questions, they begin to fall away, until you come to the point where I trust completely.
Hmm.
And that's the love being lived completely.
Yes. So, but what I find interesting about you, but the way that I am shows up as you, is that you're clearly somebody who loves knowing things, who loves, knowledge, and who loves kind of, you know, um, transmitting knowledge.
Hmm. Could
And
Yeah.
and yeah, that's very obvious about you. And so, the interesting thing is that the greatest breakthrough for you came at a point when you realized you no longer knew anything.
Yes. Yes. See, that is the paradox. And thank you for bringing that up too, because this is so beautiful. See, the less we think we know, the more, and allowing it, of course, allowing it, the
Yes.
more we start to trust that higher inner knowing, you see.
Mm.
And so that higher inner knowing cannot take over as long as we think, I know.
Mhm.
You see, so the more we trust it, the more it begins to take over. You see, so many people say, but Bert, if waking up is so simple and everybody is really waked up, but they just don't know it, um, why is it that I'm so stuck? Well, stuck because you still think your problems, your past, and everything else is so real. And then they
Mm.
say, you mean to tell me it's not real? Well, in a way, yes, it has gone into your subconscious mind. It has made you act in a certain way, in a certain pattern. But this is not reality itself. This is something that you have believed and made it real, because there's another aspect, is that consciousness, which really comes from pure awareness, consciousness itself, the totality of our being, and that's psychology focuses on consciousness, not pure awareness.
Mhm.
Pure awareness is above its own scope, because psychology deals only with the psychology, the ology of the psyche, mind
Yes.
itself, right?
Yes.
So, but but when we start trusting something beyond the mind, then the knowing starts happening on its own momentum. You see,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to read and investigate as much, although it's nice to do so. We have Google on the computer, and it can give us a lot of answers. But the
Mhm.
real answers that we want, that which gives our heart fullness, that cannot be known through Google. That cannot be known through a book. That can only be known by opening yourself up
Yes.
to that infinite intelligence that you yourself are, you see. So that becomes knowing. So to the extent that you don't know, comes the knowing.
Mhm.
The
Well, it's
paradox.
kind of, yes, it's kind of paradoxical because
Yeah,
even in the age of Google, the Socratic saying that I know that I don't know is still true.
it's still
It
true.
hasn't been,
Yeah.
it hasn't been kind of, Google hasn't found an answer to that one yet.
No, no, Google will not never find an answer to consciousness, and much less to awareness. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
but this is a good moment for me to look at the questions that people may be asking who are watching.
sure. Okay. So what
I'm
do I
just
do? Do I stay here?
You stay here and I
Okay.
read out the comments to you or the
Hmm.
questions, okay? And you can then kind of come back, respond to those.
Okay, well, I'm going to stay here.
Yes, you
Yeah.
stay
Okay.
here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't leave. Don't
Okay.
leave.
Okay.
The show isn't over yet.
Okay. So you're
Okay.
going to be looking at the YouTube questions?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes. Um, so, wow, there's a question by Micah Himmelman. And he says, please speak some words about feelings of disappointment in the context of love. Are these feelings exclusive? Disappointment comes from hope, which is not turning out as expected.
That's
But hoping, I'll just read out the question and then you can
okay.
comment on everything, yeah? But hoping for a turnout is part of creation, of being a creator. Are we not caught in a trap between creating and allowing?
That's a very good question. Very good question. We are creators as far as consciousness goes, but when it comes to higher knowledge of the heart, the more we surrender that control, the more we come to knowing. So that means that we have to be patient. You see, a part of us um, wants an answer so fast that it blocks the very answer from coming through. You see, when a because this is the way we're conditioned mentally. Oh, I have a question and I want to know the answer. Um, and so by doing that, that very thing itself is leaving you in a very limited perspective, and the higher knowing itself cannot be break through. So until you come to a point where you say, okay, I've done my best creatively, I can create anything really as far as emotional feeling is concerned. But that knowing only comes through that openness of heart. And the openness of heart means that you trust by letting go. So if you have an urgent question, it's a very important question. Instead of asking somebody for it, which you can do that, but the more you start to trust yourself, the better off you are. But doing that simply means that you have allow yourself the space for it to come. Sometimes we might have an ailment or um, you see, for many years, I've been wearing glasses for most of my life, you know, eyeglasses, and but every few years the glasses had to be increased. And so then I had some exam and they found that I had glaucoma, I had degeneration problems. So I started visiting the eye doctors, you see. But what happened with the eye doctors is they were giving me a lot of tests over and over and over again, and drugs to eye drops for the eyes, which were not agreeing with my body. And what happened to me was that I'm becoming body conscious again. I don't like that feeling, becoming body conscious. So then I started going within for an answer, but the answer didn't come right away. It took quite a while for it to come. So finally, to make a long story short, the answer did come in the form of like a voice saying, give up your glasses and make friends with what you see. So if you don't see very well, if there's a lot of blur, fog, okay, make friends with it. You see? And that's what happened. Now, by doing that, okay, not only I'm not wearing glasses anymore, but I have found that my eyesight has actually improved. Slowly, but it has improved. So actually wearing glasses was making it worse for me. The moment I stopped going to the eye doctors, and I'm not saying stop going to the eye doctor, okay? I'm just talking about my case here. Is that when you learn to trust, it will come, but it might take quite a while before you get the right knowing. Okay, now Micah, for example, you mentioned his name, so I'll mention his name too. He might be in a hurry to get an answer. And he wants something that can be verbally explained mentally so that he can say, oh, so this is the way it is. You see? Okay. Now, it is true that we are creators with every thought we think. Okay? But when it comes to higher knowing, we have to open our heart. This means we give up any need to know from a logical deduction way. If you know what I mean. When it comes, see, we can either use the mind and use the world's knowledge to create certain healings, or if we can come to a point where nothing has worked, and so we know now we have to trust something of a higher knowing. We open our heart. But this might not come right away. It might not come in a week, might not come in a month, it might not come in months. The point is, are you willing to open your heart until the answer comes to you? You see? So it's a journey from the mind into the heart. And so this is why awakening takes, although it can happen it can happen like that, awakening can happen in a moment, a breakthrough, but most of the time it happens through a gradual process of giving up the mind and trusting more and more, because our life, the way it actually is now, our life is exactly how we created it. You see, consciously created it. This is the what we call our reality, which is not reality, but our specific reality, is made up of what we think moment to moment. It's made up of our thoughts. If we want to go deeper than that, then we have to go to the heart and be very, very patient and surrendered. And the mind doesn't want to surrender.
Yes.
I don't know whether this has
So,
answered the question for Micah, but
well, I think it's a very beautiful answer. And
okay.
but there are other answers, other questions. So I don't want to kind of spend too much time on just one
Okay,
question,
good.
but I think you got to the essence of the answer.
Yeah, which is
Right.
an important answer too. Yeah, for most people to
Yes.
learn.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there is Susit's questions. And there are three questions. Now, I'm not sure
Just
we
give me
can
one at
get
a
to.
time.
I'll give you one and then we'll see how we can go from there because there's somebody else who also has a question.
Okay.
You get a lot of questions here. So, okay. Question one from Susit. Susit. Is it correct to say until the illusion of a separate body-mind drops away, the only action that needs to happen is to bring the attention to what is without the mental story and to notice the stream of thoughts, because all efforts to drop the illusory person gives reality to the illusion.
That's very, very intelligent point there. He's very, very good there. Very insightful. Yes, yeah, yeah. So, but he answered it himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see,
So,
yeah. So what read it again, and he answered it himself.
okay, hold
But yeah,
on.
because once he pays attention to the stream of thoughts, to the point where you become to pay attention, it is at that point that the heart is, you're not allowing it to open. You see,
Yes.
you're still wanting an answer. You're still relying on the mind to give you the answer. But you see, the mind can only give you answers that you have had in your experiences in the past. What you think the world is, how you feel about people, what you think about yourself, all that is made up of your mind. The mind can only feed you that which you've been feeding it. So it can never give you the real solution. Now he's quite aware in what he said, and it's a matter of trusting. But then he says he gets caught somehow of
Mm.
the question. The mind keeps thinking about it to the point that you keep thinking about it. It means you haven't surrendered it. You're still trying to figure it out, and so you become mixed between two, between the heart and the mind. You know that the heart knows the answer, but the mind wants the answer now. You see, so the two conflict and we become confused. Just like saying the contrary to fusion, contrary to oneness, confusion. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
but once we're able to come to the point and see the intelligence, the infinite wisdom that is within us, and pure awareness itself, which is self-organizing, and we learn to trust it. And of course, learning to trust it takes quite a while of really you know, working with that. But once you come to that point of total trust, I mean, now that's real living.
Okay, so let me go on to the next question here. Um, Question two. It seems that I can notice a thought and either believe it or not believe it. Or is it that there is noticing of one thought followed by noticing of a second thought that either agrees or disagrees with the first thought?
Yeah. Well, when we
It's
go
very
into
subtle.
yes, it's very subtle, and he's going quite deep. First of all, we believe most of our thoughts, because if we didn't, we don't pay attention to them. Okay, so the fact that we pay attention to a thought, it means somehow or other we believe it. It brings a doubt. It brings a feeling of, I'm not so sure here. What shall I do? You see, that this is a normal thing. Um, okay. Now, when he said, "Do I agree or disagree?" Again, he is still going with the mind because, see,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, let's say someone, a very wise man, is giving satsang to a lot of people, and one man says to the teacher, "Teacher, I don't agree with you with what you just said." And the teacher says, "Well, in satsang, you don't agree or disagree because that's all mind. It is the mind that agrees and disagrees. What is true is beyond agreeing and disagreeing. What the truth itself is being, and being cannot be experienced unless the mind is quiet enough to listen to the heart. You see, as long as the mind is active, the heart cannot hear. You cannot hear the heart, sorry. You cannot hear the heart.
Mm.
Okay, because the mind is thinking, is still trying to figure out. You think you're letting your heart open, but you're still allowing the stream of thoughts coming in to keep looking at them, thinking that somehow is going to give you the answer you're looking for, but it's simply more thoughts from your past that you've conditioned yourself to believe is real. And the stream of thoughts are unending. So until you're able to be still and know I am God, until you can really be still and allow, the answer won't come. You see, and the answer doesn't come right away because a part of us wants it right away.
Mm-hmm.
See, so the heart and mind, once we grasp the difference between the two, it might take time for us to rely more and more on our heart. You see, to give yourself total openness. And then you could be brushing your teeth, you could be going for a walk or take the dog out or feed it or whatever. And then comes a moment that says, that's the answer. It comes just like that. Okay? That because you reached a moment of quiet where we're not thinking about it. And the answer came in a moment of knowing. That's how the answers come. Are we willing to wait? Are we willing to be patient? And you see, the point is to be able to wait for the heart to open to give you the answers. And that means that are you willing to be quiet enough until the answers come? See, let's say, a person has a relationship and he's mad about his lover, and they're both mad about each other, and then they break up. Oh, the world falls apart, and they're heartbroken. Well, all they want is to get their way. I want to get back. Both of them want to get back, etc., etc. But the point is that we're so trained in getting our own way and getting control that we miss the heart completely. Another thing that happens, which is very important right now, and it would help Susit to hear it, is that no matter what is happening at the moment, is happening because you need it at this moment to look at. Do you understand? So if a couple break up at the moment, that breakup was necessary somehow by life itself, either from what they've been believing or they were thinking or whatever, to create somehow of a breakup that might take them time to look. Is this what I want for the rest of my life? Is this, you see what I mean? It gives us time to really look, to see what we can learn from it. But instead, the mind wants a solution immediately, and it wants its own way. So no, I want to get back because the sex was so great, because we were getting so well, communicating, so I want to get back. And we do not take time to look because nothing happens by chance. So whatever is happening at the moment is right. Am I willing to look at it and see what it's trying to tell me? And you might not know at the moment, but am I willing to let it come to me? And then forget about it, move on, brush your teeth, go out, take the dog for a run, whatever. Forget about it completely. You might want to write it down. It might help too. And then you'll find that the answer might come the next day, 2 days later, or whatever. When you are no longer involved in it, no longer in a hurry for an answer, then there is a somehow like a breakthrough, you see? And that's how we come to know slowly, slowly, slowly. You know?
I might chime in there and just say that, it's in the mind, it's in the nature of the mind to be active, to be
Yes.
looking for answers, to keep going until you have the answer.
And it
And
will be
that's
only the
the
answer from the
that's
mind.
the that's the trap, it's like this keeping going to
Yes,
find the answer. And yet, that's exactly the trap, because the keeping going doesn't produce the answer. It just keeps the person stuck in that mental activity.
that's
And
right. That very wise. Beautiful, Grace. Beautiful.
so it's like the
Mm.
like what you keep saying. It's like, there needs to be patience for the answer to come. And that just means stopping all that activity,
That's right.
stopping all that
Is the answer
usual activity, and then the answer can somehow arise. But it
arise? It
won't
can,
come from all that mental activity. That's guaranteed.
right. So the subject that we're covering today is called love. Love is the only answer there is. If you have a question, and the question is so important that you love to have an answer, do you love it enough to be patient for it to arrive on its own?
That's
You see?
beautiful.
Yes.
Good. That
So,
is a beautiful way of saying it.
yeah,
Yes.
because love, the
Yes.
only thing that works, and people keep writing me all the time, and I keep saying, only love works. Nothing else works.
Hmm.
And but they never looked at it. Yeah, I'm trying to
Mm.
control. I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to read. Hello? Um, I lost
Hello,
you there.
Bert. Yes, I'm back.
Oh, good.
Coming
Gr-
back.
Grace is back.
Grace got lost and Grace was found.
Yes, yes. Uh,
So, Bert, I'm just aware of the time, and there is, we've answered two of the three questions from Susit. So I think we're going to move on
Move on. Yes. Okay.
to Klaus's question. Dear Bert, last week, hold on. Yeah. Dear Bert, last week I had an appointment where I went to psychotherapy. I was very early, and so I heard a few words from Scott Killaby. Immediately I could understand. I felt totally connected with everything. I could not work on my problems with the therapist because I had no connection anymore to the problems.
Hey, good for him. So Scott Colobi actually gave him the answer he was looking for, but he
Yes,
didn't realize
yes.
it. Yes.
Oh, he did. He probably did. I was
Yeah.
happy for hours. I have had more than 30 experiences the last 20 years. I know that it is love and silence and being in contact with the huge intelligence of Source.
Beautiful.
Can you comment on that hurtful jumping in and out?
What is the jumping in and out?
Well, he says, he's had these 30, however many experiences in 30 experiences in the last 20 years. And, somehow what his experiences, he keeps having these experiences of
Yes,
knowing,
the
and then
reason.
he jumps back into the pain.
Yes, yeah. The reason it keeps happening is because, again, Klaus, we covered the talk about self compassion, Sometimes you see what happens is that we try to get rid of certain thoughts that we've had in the past. Somehow we don't see them as lessons we need to look at, as things that we need to learn from. We see them as, I don't want to have this thought anymore. And the moment you do that, it will keep repeating. So somehow or other, you are rejecting what is happening. You see? So I'm talking to him now. Yeah. He's
Yes.
rejecting what is happening. And so it keeps repeating. The only way that we really learn is when something happens that it is not to our, to our what we want, and to take it, to use it as, this is what I need to look at. So you see, when I get clients, for example, I say to them, I say, Bert, I feel guilty and I feel this and I feel that, and I repeat a habit over and over again that I shouldn't, and then I feel bad for having done it. And I said, how can I stop? I said, the fact that you want to stop will keep repeating because you want to stop it. So I said, next time you get the feeling, say, thank you for for reminding me that this is a lesson I need to learn. Thank you. So the moment you start thinking the very negative thought itself, you are actually cutting away its own source from repeating. You see, because only love works, and I can repeat this for the next 100 years. Only
Do,
love works.
do.
If you want to get rid of something, of a thought, the moment you call a thought negative, you've already judged it. You see, and the moment you judge a thought, that thought will have to repeat because it is the nature of negativity to repeat itself. It's just like when you're angry and you're angry for being angry, and then it keeps escalating. And the same with guilt. You feel guilt, and then you feel guilty for feeling guilty, and then you reach a point when you don't feel guilty, and then you feel guilty for not feeling guilty. You see what I mean? So negativity is that. But what if you stop and say, thank you for all this because I'm learning patience and looking. See, this very gratitude, even for something negative, brings love into it. Love always works. Sincere love, meaning it, love. Yeah. So when something keeps repeating, it means a part of you doesn't want it. It wants to get rid of it. You see? And when you want to get rid of something, you're holding on to it. Do you know sometimes you take a thought with you and you think about it all night, and then the next day and you say, I don't want to keep thinking about this. But it keeps repeating all the time because you're fighting it and rejecting it, which means, of course, you're holding on to it. You're giving it reality. So only love works. Klaus, he's such a beautiful man, such a sweet man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when he stops, I mean, my sense is that, as long as we jump back and forth between, I had it, I lost it, I had it, I lost it. Like you say, we keep
That's
not
an
wanting the losing. And
yeah.
really, the challenge is to love the losing and
That
to realize
beautiful. That's
that
right.
we can love the
Enjoy.
losing and discover that the love is still there, even
The
in the
love is still
losing.
there. Beautiful. See, that's how love grows. Love everything, everything. You see? And that way, your choice is love. And
Mhm,
then the losing and the gaining, losing. This is just a game of the mind. It has no reality. But it appears real because you're fighting it. You're resisting it. I want it. I don't want it.
mhm.
Rejecting it. No. Love everything, you see?
Yes,
And the moment you
yes.
start loving everything and you begin to love everything about you, it's a whole new perspective arises. You see, even humility arises, and yeah, there's sometimes people say, "Oh, I hate my ego. I want to kill it. I want to get rid of it." Good luck. The fact that you want to get rid of your ego is the ego wanting to get rid of the ego, because love doesn't see
Yes,
an ego.
yes,
Love
true.
doesn't see ego. Love only sees how beautiful you really are in your true nature. Pure
Mhm,
awareness, you see?
mhm.
Yeah.
Then I'd say love even sees the beauty of the ego. You know, it sees the beauty of that that attempt to know, that searching,
Yes, yes,
you
it can see
know,
it
that
that way.
wanting
Just
to
like
get it right, you know, all of this is like, you know, it's a beautiful impulse. It's just kind of run awry, you know,
that's
it's
right,
kind of
exactly. That's the word, the run
lost.
awry. Right, right,
It got
yeah.
lost from the source.
Yeah, just like the child, learns to walk, and as it's learning to walk, it keeps falling and crying and falling and crying. But every time it gets up,
Yes.
it has a greater balance. So love is taking care of the child even while it's falling. You see, but we do not see that. We feel, well, if there's love, it shouldn't fall.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, it doesn't work that way. We
Mm-hmm.
we have to learn through the falling, and the falling itself makes us get up and move some more and learn more and more and more until finally, all that's left is love. Yeah.
And actually, the falling is quite useful because it kind of tends to undercut the arrogance. You know that, oh,
Yes.
I can do it. I'm good. I'm here. I got it. I'm enlightened.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got it really. You know? And
Yeah,
then bang,
yeah.
the next fall, and it's like, oh, okay, well,
This is what
maybe there's
happens.
a
That's
better
why.
way of fitting it.
Yes, it's teaching us humility, really. Yeah, love,
Yes.
because love is very humble too. Love is
Hmm.
innocent. Love is like a child, you know. Yeah.
Yes. Love really knows nothing. It just knows that whatever it sees is beautiful, right?
Oh, Grace, you're saying such beautiful words. Yeah, yeah. See, that's it. That's it. Yeah,
So even the falling
yeah.
is beautiful.
Even the falling is beautiful because love is so innocent. It's unconditional. You see,
Yes.
it's unconditional.
Yes.
You know, some people say I am so bad. I don't deserve love. Oh my God, how we can create such a darkness out of that doesn't
Mm.
exist at all. You see, but
Hmm.
what if you love everything, everything? You see, even the falling, even the mistakes, and everything else. Don't try to get rid of anything. And then, as soon as you begin moving with that love begins to nourish you more and more and more and more.
Mm.
You know, and what
Yes.
what it does too is it softens the heart.
Hmm.
Some people say to me, Bert, I was always very staunch, very serious person. But now that I'm learning more about love, I find myself crying over
Hmm.
a movie love affair, crying over a beautiful poem, crying over seeing the beauty of a kitten. And I said yes because it softens the heart. You
Hmm.
see, but those tears are not tears of pain. The chemical composition of the tears of love, it's a different composition. Did you know that? It's true. It's true.
It's got to be true because they are very different tears.
They're the different tears.
Yes. That
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
tears of an open heart.
The tears of an open heart.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, which increases sensitivity and understanding in ways no book can teach us, you see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that this is all what it's all about, really opening the heart to see the love that's always there,
Mm.
shining.
Yes.
Yeah. You've been beautiful. Thank you. You've said some
Oh,
wonderful things, Grace.
you've been beautiful. You said some wonderful things too, Bert.
Oh, but that's because Grace brought it all out.
Well, it's the two of us. It's the
Yeah,
two of us, Bert.
yeah.
And I hate to kind of have to come to a close because I know we started late, but I do realize that that's something that I learned.
Do you
This
have
is my
another one?
second.
Another person?
No, I have a closing session at
Oh, you have a
7.
closing session. Oh, okay.
And I learned something about love that I didn't realize in the first retreat, which is that out of self-love, I need breaks between the sessions.
Uh-huh. That
And
yeah, yeah. When you told me that, I said, "Yay! Yes,
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 yes.
yeah,
So I find I'm able to be much more present when I have
yes,
that break.
yes." Yeah.
And you know, I want to be present
Yeah. And you were very
for the last
present
session.
when we made that mistake about a little misunderstanding about starting. And
Oh,
you were,
Bert, that's the beauty of Mercury retrograde. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many hiccups we had on this
really?
retreat.
Yeah.
Like an earlier speaker, actually, she lost the connection altogether, and
Oh,
I ended up holding my handheld phone to the microphone, and we
oh,
continued the session that way.
oh, really? Oh my.
Yes.
See how
So
wonderful you are.
So
And you can,
losing my
yeah.
picture is nothing compared to what happened with Marley's because she
Ah,
lost it altogether.
ah,
But then we found it another way.
mm. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
We lost it and we found it. And I guess, for me what was there was that trust that we'd make the connection somehow. And we did. You see?
Yes,
We
that's
did.
right. That's
We
right.
did.
That's right. This is how love works. You see, the focus is on giving this, which is wonderful what you're doing. And so by placing your focus on it, it doesn't matter the mistakes, it doesn't matter the Mercury retrograde
Yes.
making you fall. You still carry it through, and it's still effective, and it's reaching people, it's reaching people's hearts. It's
Yes.
wonderful. May
Yeah.
you receive many donations, and I hope that you do because it's
Oh, thank you.
you're doing a wonderful thing. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bert. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You've got such a beautiful, sweet presence that
Oh.
shines through all
Mm.
that you say, and
Mm.
I'm sure that's why so many people write to you and want answers
Mm.
because you're so generous with your answers.
Mm.
You're so generous with
Mm.
communicating whatever love speaks through you.
Mm. Mm.
So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and we'll see you back for the last session at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Pacific Time, and it's midnight in the UK and 1 o'clock in
Oh my.
Europe. So
Yeah.
so it may be a bit too late for people further east, but
Hmm.
we'll see who shows up.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll see you then.
Yes. I'll see you
Until
then.
then, bye bye.
Bye.